Are you still unmarried? My spouse is a stunning secretary. You are a lowly high school graduate, and I live in a totally other world. My old classmate John started disparaging me as soon as we got back together after a 30-year separation. After high school, I was the only one among us unable to continue our education. I could see why he wanted to brag. He wanted to share the news of his stunning wife's professional accomplishment. I could have gone to a better high school than John, and wouldn't have had to start working right out of high school if my family hadn't been struggling financially. I was a loser in that regard at the time. It was then that I noticed a woman in a blue suit coming back with food on her plate. I understand. She must be John's renownedly attractive secretary. Allow me to present you. This is Ashley, my wife. Gorgeous, isn't she? She might be deemed attractive, but her makeup was heavy. Ashley began to shake when she saw me. Michael Robinson is my name. This year, I turned 45. I am the president of Robinson Construction, a 7,200-person corporation. After hearing this, one may assume that I've lived a life of privilege and distinction. But the truth is anything but privileged. It was an ongoing battle of resentment and adversity. My family didn't have much money. My mother was left to raise me alone after my father vanished shortly after I was born. I just remember my mother frying bread crust in oil. I don't remember ever having snacks. I would have most likely passed out on the way home from school if there hadn't been school meals. It's difficult to believe that a child in a developed nation like the U.S. would experience continual hunger. Naturally, I turned to studying any time I had free time because I couldn't afford games. I consequently consistently finished at the top of my primary school class. I was favored by my professors, and I was able to forget about the struggles of poverty while I was in school. Even in high school, my grades were excellent, and I was respected by my peers. I took on leadership roles, serving as class president and student council president, leading a fulfilling school life. Everything changed towards the end of my sophomore year of high school when it was time to decide on a future path. Both my mother and my teacher had pained expressions on their faces. Despite having the grades to easily get into the top university in the state, our financial situation meant I couldn't pursue higher education. My mother tearfully pleaded with my teacher. "Isn't there anything we can do? He loves studying and has good grades. It's too cruel to deprive him of the opportunity to study just because he was born into a poor family." My acquaintance, the president of a construction company, actively supports students who work hard through adversity. How about we trust Michael to him? He could work while taking distance education courses and earn a college degree. After hearing this, my mother pondered for a while. Construction. But I've heard it's a tough field. I doubt he'd have time to study leisurely with the daily grind. Continuing his studies seems impossible. It all depends on Michael's effort. It's tough and requires perseverance, but it's not impossible. The president is a passionate and upstanding person. Why not give it a try? Thanks to my teacher's encouragement, I ended up working for Robinson Construction, while everyone else went to college. I was branded a loser. At that point, there was one person who gleefully watched my life's downturn: John Smith. Since elementary school, he had always been my academic rival. John's mother was extremely keen on education, making him study all the time, except for Christmas Day. During elementary school, I was also interested in playing around, so I couldn't always score perfect marks, making John the top student of the year. However, things changed in high school. Still harboring hopes for the future, I wanted to go to college and learn more. Once I started studying seriously, I quickly surpassed John, and throughout high school, I never relinquished my position as the top student. We even aspired to the same university, the one with the highest SAT scores in the state. You're aiming for the same college as me, huh? But do you even have the money to attend and pay tuition? He hit a sore spot, and I was left speechless. This issue had always been buried deep within me. Telling my mother would only make her sad, and sharing it with other adults would only garner sympathy, nothing more. While everyone else took for granted their dreams of college life, for me, it was a distant, unattainable future. The only selfish request I made during that time was to at least let me take the entrance exams. That year, I placed at the top of those exams, finally making peace with my situation. Thus, after graduating high school, John went on to college, and I started my career at Robinson Construction. The construction industry is a male-dominated field where loud voices can be heard everywhere. As someone who was still clueless, I was trained on site by Jack Robinson, the president of Robinson. When I first joined the company, I rented a room in Jack's house, where I was allowed to live. I managed to secure time for study at night, while working hard on my tasks. At that time, Jack's wife was pregnant, and they soon welcomed a new member to their family, a lovely girl named Sarah. Sarah became very attached to me, and whenever I was away for work, she would cry loudly, looking for me. "Sarah really likes you, Michael. She won't stop crying even when her father holds her, but she smiles as soon as you pick her up." I gained experience with other carpenters on site, but eventually I was told that I was better suited for office work, such as calculations and design. I quickly learned to work on a computer and became a valuable asset. In due course, I graduated from a correspondence university. Feeling a sense of accomplishment, I decided not to pursue graduate school. By the time I was in my 30s, I started to be entrusted with important management roles in the company. Having someone who knows the field in charge can significantly change the flow of work. The voice of the site workers was better heard, and the management side could provide more detailed instructions. The company's performance improved significantly. The number of employees increased, and the company grew substantially. When I first joined, it was a medium-sized construction company, but now it has become a large corporation. At that time, Sarah had turned 18 and was growing up to be simply beautiful. We remained close, and Sarah developed romantic feelings for me. Eventually, my feelings for her evolved from seeing her as a reliable little sister to wanting to protect her at all costs. One day, I was called to a high-end restaurant by Jack, where I was told something surprising. "Michael, do you have a girlfriend or someone you like?" "No, I'm quite happy with my work." "Then would you consider marrying Sarah? She wants to marry you no matter what. I'd rather have her marry someone I trust like you than someone unknown." As I was processing the situation, the sliding door at the back opened, and Sarah entered, dressed in a beautiful gown. Finally understanding the situation, I straightened up and melted, looking at Sarah. Though our feelings were mutual, I still wanted to formally propose. "Jack, please let me marry Sarah. I promise to make her happy." Sarah shed tears and whispered, "Thank you." Thus, I married Sarah and took the Robinson surname. Although I was prepared for some jealousy, almost all the employees were supportive. Having something to protect might indeed change a man. Recently, you seem to have gained a sense of dignity, Michael. Maybe it's because of your long experience in society. It makes me feel safe to follow you. Sarah's reliance and the deep love I feel for her daily are gratifying. 30 years after entering the workforce, I turned 45 and took over as the second president of the company. A significant land development project was underway in our state's central area, and Robinson played a crucial role. That night, a reception for companies involved in the land development was held in a large hotel hall. I attended with 2 other employees. The hall, filled with men from the construction industry, was buzzing with energy. Not only were there employees from companies already involved in the development, but salesmen from companies looking to join were also present. The reception welcomed families, and I saw a few women who looked like the wives of construction company presidents. Sarah mentioned she might join if she finished her chores in time. My colleagues rushed to the buffet, and I took a moment to survey the surroundings with a champagne glass in hand. I locked eyes with a man I recognized from somewhere. He approached me with a big smile. "Michael, is that you?" "It's John. I heard you became a carpenter, but you're involved in this development project too. It's been a long time. I'm surprised you recognize me." It's been 30 years since we last met. I'm a sales department manager, so remembering faces and names is part of my job. I've always been confident in my memory. You don't look much like a carpenter. Initially, I was hired as a carpenter, so he probably thinks I'm still working on site. 30 years have passed, and people change positions or even careers. But it seems John's mind is still stuck at the moment he beat me in high school. Since there was nobody by my side, he must have assumed I didn't bring any family. Are you still alone? Well, I guess that's to be expected. My wife is a beautiful secretary. I'm living in a different world than a high school graduate like you. Just as we reunited after 30 years, he quickly started looking down on me. I was the only one among my classmates who didn't go on to further education after high school graduation. So I understand the desire to boast, wanting to spread the word about his beautiful wife and how he's excelling at work. I get it. If my family hadn't been poor, I wouldn't have had to work right after high school, and I could have attended a better university than John. In that sense, I was a loser back then. Then a woman dressed in a navy blue suit came back with food on a plate. I see she must be John's much bragged about beautiful secretary. This suit is plain, but perhaps she can't dress too flashy given her position as a secretary. Let me introduce you. This is my wife, Ashley. Beautiful, isn't she? I glanced at Ashley and smiled warmly. Sure, she could be considered beautiful, but I always thought she wore too much makeup. Noticing me, Ashley started to tremble. Thank you for the other day. It must have been hard for you. Since then, I'm really sorry about what happened last time. Both the manager and I have been reflecting deeply, and we were planning to apologize in a few days. During our conversation, John, realizing we weren't strangers, gave me a puzzled look. What's this about? My Ashley works in a trading company. There's no way she'd have anything to do with a carpenter like you. What are you talking about? This man is the president of Robinson, the top construction company in the state. We've been doing large transactions with them, and I made a terrible mistake the other day. Ashley was the secretary to the sales manager of one of Robinson's business partners. John had made it sound like she was the president's secretary, but she wasn't in such a responsible position. She had arranged a meeting with the manager and me, but due to a scheduling mistake by Ashley, the meeting fell through. Ashley deeply apologized. I know this is a lot to ask, but could you give us another chance? For my husband's sake, I promise not to make such a disrespectful mistake again. Please, for your husband's sake. Ha. Well, I know him, but we're not exactly close. All right, I'll give you another chance. But make sure you're on time this time. Thank you so much. Ashley continued apologizing, almost in tears. John was stunned at first, but as he began to understand the situation, he turned pale. Robinson, as in the big corporation. You're its president. How did you become a president at your age with just a high school diploma? Well, I worked hard. I've been in the workforce longer than most, so maybe I've just put in more effort. Ashley nodded, deeply impressed. Your achievements are well known to us. You were reputed to be talented, but it's your attitude towards valuing the network of people you work with that's highly regarded. John's mood worsened as he saw his proud, beautiful wife bowing and scraping to me, whom he looked down upon, making him feel even more inferior. So you were married too? Ashley asked. Yeah, I got married when I was 23. How long have you and Ashley been married? John replied. I'm married at 32. We're both career-oriented, leading a work-centered life. A power couple, having the economic means to always dress beautifully. Both spouses building their careers is indeed something to boast about. Ashley looked around. Is Mrs. Robinson not here? I've heard she's beautiful. I've been wanting to meet her. My wife should be here soon. Then I'll introduce you. Just the mention of a beautiful wife soured John's mood further, but he probably thought it was just an exaggeration typical of the spouses of important clients. Then Sarah hurried over. Sorry I'm late. The kids just wouldn't go to sleep. John and Ashley were surprised by Sarah's youth. Your wife. How old is she? She looks so young. She's 30 this year. My wife was born the year I joined Robinson. It feels like I've been watching her grow up, waiting for her to mature. Well, it's just like a love story from a movie or drama, isn't it? Every man's dream. Ashley said, clearly amused. I couldn't help but feel a bit flattered. Scratching my head in embarrassment, I explained to Sarah, who joined us late, about John and Ashley. I decided to marry Michael since I was born. I didn't want to risk someone else taking him away, so we got married as soon as I turned 18. What a lovely story. How old are your children now? They're only 5 and 3 years old. We wanted to enjoy some time together as a couple after getting married, so we went on trips abroad and played golf, enjoying a long honeymoon period. Despite Sarah's innocent words, I could sense Ashley's turmoil. It was probably because of Sarah's visible pregnancy. Sarah loves elegant fashion and doesn't seem like someone who is busy raising small children. The jewelry, bags, and shoes she wears are all top of the line. She only buys limited edition items from well-known brands, making her the envy of her brand-loving friends. Ashley seems to compare her belongings to Sarah's and feels down because Sarah seems to have a high interest in branded goods. Even after marrying John, thinking we would have a comfortable life financially, his spending habits are so bad that I still need to work to support our family. So we ended up giving up on having children. Ashley bit her lip in frustration. It must be hard for her to see Sarah affectionately caressing her belly, especially if she gave up on having children for her career. Men can father children at a much older age, but it's not the same for women. John looked displeased, listening to the women's conversation. There's no use complaining about it now. And when it comes to spending, you're just as bad. Normally, if both spouses work, they contribute equally to the household. You always spend so much on your motorcycle hobby, leaving me to foot the bill. And you think flattering your pretty secretary will make everything okay. You're one to talk, buying all those unnecessary brand bags and clothes. Having one of each should be enough. But no, you buy a new one every time a new collection comes out. As the argument between the couple escalated, Sarah left to get some food. I opened another bottle of champagne, pondering over John's life. He went from the top high school in the state to a prestigious university, landed a coveted sales job, and married a beautiful woman. Without children, he must have more disposable income than most. He used to enjoy making others envious of his lifestyle, but now, having reconnected with me, he must realize that someone he once looked down upon is actually living a happier life. Comparing yourself to others only leads to dissatisfaction. Even if you surpass someone, there's always someone else better. I consider myself happy, but not because I compare myself to John. Happiness is not about feeling superior to others. I'm not a world-renowned millionaire, and I have my share of struggles at work. Comparing myself to the world's rich would be absurd. Since I came here to socialize, I'm looking for new connections. I was about to distance myself from John when he grabbed my sleeve to stop me. Hey, Michael, could you consider doing business with my company? We've been trying to expand into the Asian market, but it failed. We're thinking of shifting to local development projects. So you're saying you missed the boat while focusing overseas? That's a big mistake, I responded. We studied together in high school. Let's work together again as adults. It was a ridiculous proposition. I couldn't understand how he came to that conclusion. I still remember John's contemptuous remark about whether I could afford college tuition. With me out of the picture, he must have felt superior being a top student. There's no good in associating with him now, and I don't particularly feel inclined to. Frankly, John's presence is just annoying. I'm sorry, but I have to decline. I don't see us having a pleasant relationship. John was dumbfounded, clearly not expecting a rejection. Please, Michael, don't say that. My sales haven't been great lately, and I might be demoted if things don't improve. I want to avoid that at all costs. As harsh as it sounds, that's just a reflection of your capabilities. Who would want to start a new deal with someone who's failing? Meanwhile, Ashley, who had been silent until now, chimed in, "Please, do this for me as well." Despite what I'm saying, the truth is, if our performance doesn't improve, I might be forced to leave the company. If John loses his job, we won't be able to live like we used to. What did you do? I asked. Ashley reluctantly begins to speak, biting his lip in frustration. Actually, he had an affair with a client's wife. As a result, that couple ended up divorcing, and we were sued for a large sum in damages. The company found out, and now I'm handing in my resignation. Are you okay with that, Ashley? I know you from our professional dealings, so I have some idea of your character. Aren't you actually unable to forgive him? Ashley looks down silently, then spits out in frustration. I don't want to just throw everything away as it is. I plan to leave him once he's able to stand on his own 2 feet. What? You plan to divorce me? I haven't heard anything about this. I was listening to their argument from a distance. There's no way their relationship can be mended, and I have no intention of getting involved with them or entertaining any business dealings to avoid further provocation. I quietly left their side, met up with Sarah, and we left after a while. What follows is what I heard directly from Ashley about the ongoing situation. The urban redevelopment project in the county involves various industries, but John's company couldn't get involved anywhere. The scandal involving John, the sales manager, had become well known, and it was the reason upper management, considering the company's survival at risk, decided to let John go. Being allowed to take early retirement was a small consolation. The severance pay went to the damages claimed by the husband of John's affair, leaving almost nothing for John himself. Ashley decided to give up on John and presented him with divorce papers. Living with John had its happy moments, but I've moved on. Fortunately, I have a job, no kids, and plan to take better care of myself from now on. John, once proud of his high-earning wife, now faced the reality of living on his own without sufficient means. As the divorce settlement shaved his savings, he was forced to sell his home. Unwilling to lower his lifestyle, John set high expectations for his next job. However, positions that met his high standards were rare. His miscalculations weren't just about his position. Previously, living off both his and Ashley's salaries allowed for a quite affluent lifestyle. Now, even with the same salary, he had to cut his living standards in half. Without a job, John moved to a cheaper apartment. Eventually, he might have thought staying in this place was the problem, and quietly moved to another state. No one, including Ashley, knows what happened to John afterward. Meanwhile, Ashley is doing well in life. Initially regretting not having children, she found new purpose in volunteer work, invited by a friend hoping to make a difference in the lives of underprivileged children abroad. Next year, she plans to visit Africa to meet those children. She sold all her luxury brands, living minimally. I'm grateful to you for giving me a chance to change my perspective on life now, Ashley says, cheerfully with simpler makeup and clothing. She caught the attention of some male colleagues, making her future seem promising. 3 months later, Sarah gave birth to a healthy girl. We became parents of 3. The responsibility is greater, but the kids are irreplaceable treasures. Sarah says she wants one more, and I'm all for it. Growing up poor, I can't let my children face the same fate. Maintaining my health and working hard is crucial. Lately, I've come to understand what it means to live vicariously through your children. However, I'm careful not to force them into what I believe is right, trusting Sarah to keep me in check. The county's redevelopment project is progressing well. Due to the lack of adequate transportation in this region, reliance on cars is inevitable. Those who have disabilities have to drive a car to get to the hospital. It's a problem occurring all across the U.S. However, in 5 years, the development of subway lines and dedicated bus lanes will enable people to travel to many places without needing a car. I've heard that autonomous buses will also be introduced on a trial basis. The number of hospitals and nursing homes is expected to increase as well. Even though I'm working hard now, we will all inevitably age. We're striving to make our town more livable for when that time comes, not just for us, but for the future of our children. Doing all we can now is the only way forward. As I look up at a building under construction, I make a renewed pledge to myself to strive even harder.